The terrorist attacks on the United States on September 11, 2001, changed the fate of Afghanistan. After the September 11th attacks, then U.S. President George W. Bush quickly defined them as an act of war and launched the global war on terror. The United States came to Afghanistan under the name of counterterrorism and stayed there for 20 years. In the 20 years of war in Afghanistan, the U.S. policy in Afghanistan has been constantly changing, but it has never been able to achieve its strategic goal of combating extremism. More than 30,000 civilians have died as a result of the fighting, more than 60,000 have been injured, and some 11 million have become refugees. 20 years later, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, announced it had completed the Afghan strategy goal to withdraw since May 1, 2,500 troops in Afghanistan, on September 11th, has been evacuated. In less than 2 months after this, the Taliban at an alarming rate to control the area. More than 50 of the 370 districts in Afghanistan, including some important provincial cities. What does the future hold for Afghanistan as U.S. troop withdrawals continue in the face of aggressive Taliban attacks? Worst thing that could happen in Afghanistan after the American withdrawal is a civil war. After 2 decades of war, the Taliban are far stronger and more mature than they were in 2001. They were in charge of Afghanistan before the Americans drove them into the mountains. As U.S. troops withdraw from Afghanistan, the Taliban have stepped up their offensive. Now the battle to regain power has begun, and the current Afghan government has nothing to defend itself against. In the face of the irresponsible behavior of the United States, the international public opinion believes that no matter whether the war restarts or the Taliban takes power, extremist terrorism flourishes, transnational drug trafficking flourishes, and refugee flows are out of control. The whole world will suffer a disaster. For the more than 24 transnational terrorist groups active in Afghanistan, the instability and uncertainty could prove to be an important opportunity for their resurgence. How to deal with a new geopolitical pattern caused by the withdrawal of American troops, especially the security challenges brought by the situation in Afghanistan in the future, has become a new issue that the whole international community urgently needs to face. The U.S. paid lip service to securing better living conditions for the Afghan people, only to give up and leave a mess behind. The reason is the belief that too much money and resources are being spent in Afghanistan. Now the United States is gradually weakening, unwilling to continue to maintain this unremunerated investment. The natural choice is to exit. Instead of fostering a pro-American government there for 2 decades, the U.S. has wasted American taxpayers' money. However, the U.S. military committed numerous crimes, but in the end, it left completely irresponsibly and did not have the responsibility to act as a superpower. The people of Afghanistan are left with a future riddled with damage and peril.